Should I pause a minute while everybody comes in?
Yeah, let everybody come on in.
Bring the plates so we could pass them.
That's right. Yes, sir. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm also a military chaplain down for the 138 Fighter Wing, and proud to be a part of this community. Have been for the last couple of years, so kind of the new kid in and my first time here, so thank you for this opportunity. Almighty God, we come before you this night recognizing that the gift of life and the opportunity to use it to further and advance impact on individual lives is in front of us in multiple different ways. I pray for this commission that tonight, as they deal with important issues, that they continue to conduct the business and the affairs of this community, that God, you'd give them wisdom, that you'd give them discernment to be able to know the direction that they should go, that God, they would have the courage to be able to speak the truth and to be able to take difficult stands, to look at things from multiple different perspectives. And I thank you for the constituents who have placed them in these roles and entrusted them with these opportunities. For each person that's here tonight and for these that are going to be sworn in as police officers tonight, I thank you for our police officers. I thank you for what they do and their willingness to be willing to pay the ultimate price and sacrifice for the safety of the citizens of our community. I pray your blessing over them, that they would have a long and fruitful career, and that they would be supported through the leadership, both in the force as well as in this community. It's in your name that I pray these things. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. We will now have a review of the agenda, and I am going to make a motion to amend the agenda to add resolution R-25-52 to new business. I'll second.
A motion is made by Mayor Maples, seconded by Vice Mayor Bannister to amend the agenda to add resolution R-25-52 to new business. Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bannister.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
We will now have a review of the consent agenda. First item on that is the City Commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. And then number 2 is the Community Enhancement Foundation meeting minutes for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. And then our 2025 appropriation ordinance number AO-25-09 in the amount of $5,832,991.56. And I think Vice Mayor Anne Marie has
Okay.
some.
I have some highlights to bring out on our appropriation ordinance. We have Algar Martin for $35,283.50. This is for 5 various projects that they are working on design for us for. We have Grand River Dam Authority for $2,902,822.85. Of course, that's our energy purchase. We have Hampill Oil Distributors Incorporated. This is for our jet fuel at our airport. It's over almost 15,000 gallons, $41,946.64. Kansas Department of Revenue for a total of $75,360.91. This is for $18,000 of it is for our first quarter 2025 water fees, water protection fee, and clean drinking water fee. And then we have taxes, licenses, permits, etc. that amount to $57,000. We have Meriton Health, $173,865. This is life premium, and health claims paid. We have let's see, Southwest Power Pool, this has to do with the GRDA, the transmission service, $791,415.17. We have Turbo Systems US Incorporated. This is maintenance and rebuilding of the engines out at the new generation plant, $131,515.12. Wartzilla North America, $36,017.46. This is for seal sets, sample kits, 4 of them, and then valve springs. This has to do with maintenance on those units at the new gen plant also. We have Worldwide Diesel Power Incorporated, $175,753.56. This is for maintenance pay installment number 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, also on those items at the new gen plant. We have Newcom Wireless Services, docking station and tablets, $51,853.80. We have new digger derrick. This is a digger truck, new truck for the electric department, $263,228.69. We are still doing the emergency home repair assistance program. So we have given or paid Clint Perkins Construction for 3 residents here in town that have applied to have that done for $2,250. We have payroll of $420,237.14, and that's it.
Any questions? If not, I will make a motion to approve items 1 through 3 of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Mayor Maples, seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve items 1 through 3 of the consent agenda as presented. Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Okay, we will move on to our comments from the public. Any citizen desiring to address the commission shall be recognized in advance, advance to the podium, state his or her name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes unless extended by a vote of the majority of the commission. The commission does not hear matters involving litigation or city personnel. The commission does not take action on subjects not on the agenda unless unusual or hardship conditions exist. Citizens may address the commission on agenda items as they are brought to the floor. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay, I will move on to our regular agenda items. Our first is public hearings, special presentations, and proclamations. We will swear in Coffeyville police officers Tori Johnson, Leslie Rios, and Tyler Stride. Would you?
And then at the fire, Quinn's gonna.
I'm going to speak for just a few minutes and then I'll... Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. I'd like to introduce to you our newest police officers. Officer Tori Johnson, she relocated here from Olathe, Kansas. Officer Leslie Rios, she and her family relocated here from McAllen, Texas. And Officer Tyler Stride, standing behind me, he and his family relocated here from Avenal, California, Central California. As I've stated before, but I'll go ahead and go through it again, our law enforcement officers are unique, and this profession is very unique because of the criteria that we have to meet to become a police officer. First, officers, applicants have to apply. They want to apply to become a police officer. They're then required to take a written aptitude test. That battery test is designed to test their aptitude to ensure that they can meet the academic challenges of the police academy. After that, they then take a physical agility test, which has our standards on there so that they can perform the job adequately. After that, they are then subject to a department interview with an oral board consisting of myself and the captain and other selected individuals from the department. We then get into the ride-along process where they go out and ride along with the officers. They don't realize this, but that's actually an informal interview process. Their guard's down, so they're riding in the passenger seat of the officers, and they're finding out really what they're about. Gives them an opportunity to ask relevant questions, and our officers do respond truthfully, especially the part about me. After that, they're then subjugated to a background investigation, and it's a three-part. It consists of a traditional background investigation that most people would go through, prior references, jobs, etc. And they are also subject to a financial background investigation and a polygraph investigation. That polygraph exam has 500 questions roughly, and they take a deep dive into your soul. Typically, we learn a lot about a person even before we have them go and actually take their polygraph exam. A lot of times, they don't make it to that point. After that, they're required to take a psychological test that's mandated by our state statute. And after that, they pass that successfully. They then have a meeting with the captain and I, and we go over everything with them, our expectations, etc. After they survive that, they are subject to a doctor's physical and UA and fingerprints. And then they become a police officer employed with the city of Coffeyville. But that doesn't stop. The process continues. They then go to the police academy for approximately 14 weeks where they're taught the basics. And then they return back here and they go through an additional 12 weeks of training, sometimes a little bit more. And then they're typically under the close eye and guidance of their sergeant lieutenant for the next year. Takes typically about 2 to 3 years for a police officer to really start learning on their own, be able to do what they need to do without having very much supervision. So it's a very tedious and invested program that we have, and because we want the best, we don't lower our standards. So these three individuals have done that. They've completed all of that. The Kansas Commission of Peace Officers Testing and Training, the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center, and the Coffeyville Police Department have all indicated that they have passed what they needed to do and they're ready to hit the streets. Actually, they are actually on the streets already. So this is just the last part of it. So I'd like these officers to come up here wherever.
They can turn and face the camera.
Okay.
Yeah, if they face the camera.
Come up here and just turn and face this way.
Can I have Mr. Johnson? Can you come up? Mia, will you please come up? Billy? And I'm going to have you guys stand over here to the side. They're going to swear in, and then you can place their badge on them. Pin them.
Do I raise my hand?
Mhm.
Okay. On my honor, I will never betray my badge. My integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always uphold the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Kansas, my community, and the agency I serve.
All right. You guys are welcome to go up there and pin them. Congratulations. Okay, you guys are dismissed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go, stand ahead, Carl.
Congratulations. Okay, we will now move on. Public hearing to consider an application to be submitted to the Kansas Department of Commerce for Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Funds under the Water Sewer Infrastructure category. Executive Director of Public Works, Jim Wright, will make comments.
Good evening. The purpose of this is to hold a public hearing and request commissioners to approval of submit a grant application with the Kansas Department of Commerce under the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Water and Sewer Infrastructure category. The background of this is the City of Coffeyville intends to submit a application in July of 2025 for the sewer infrastructure project along Brown Street from West Eldridge to just past Osage Street. The application seeks $701,000 in CDBG funds, with the city committing $233,000 in matching funds from the capital improvement and sewer funds for a total of $935,000. This project consists of rehabilitating approximately 4,250 feet of sanitary sewer line using trenchless methods, performing targeted repairs and rehabilitation, 14 manholes to reduce inflow and infiltration. A preliminary engineering report prepared by Alger Martin and Associates supported this project and recommended option 3, which is cured in-place pipe, which is CIPP renovation. The other two were more evasive and would tear up more streets, take a little longer. This project aligns with CDBG priorities for critical infrastructure needs and LMI benefits. Matching funds have been secured and LMI survey was completed with a 61% qualifying rate. All required documentation, resolutions, and certificates will accompany the application. Brown Street sewer line is experiencing pipe wall failures, sediment blockage, and intruding taps. Manholes are deteriorating and contribute to the groundwater infiltration. Renovating the line using CIPP will reduce sewer overflows, lower treatment costs, and protect public health. The project cost is estimated at $935,000. The city will contribute $233,000 in local match. The proposed timeline includes construction completion by October of '26.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing to receive comments regarding an application to be submitted to the Kansas Department of Commerce for Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Funds under the Water Sewer Infrastructure category. Do we have any comments? If not, I will now close the public hearing. So now we have Resolution R-25-44, a resolution certifying legal authority to apply for the 2025 Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program from the Kansas Department of Commerce and authorizing the mayor to sign and submit the application. Executive Director of Public Works, Jim Wright, will make comments. Hello again.
Do you guys have any questions?
No, I don't.
No,
It's
I
pretty
think that's,
cut forward.
Will any community members down there be impacted for any extended period of time?
No, they should be just fine. They'll block the line during the day while they're working on it and open it up in the evenings. Usually this cured in place piping usually is done in a matter of hours and they'll do it in sections. When they do that, then they'll have to go back and dig up each individual tap along the way and reconnect them.
Okay, thank you. Move to approve Resolution R2544 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Vice Mayor Bannister to approve Resolution R-25-44 as presented. Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, we will move on. Resolution R-25-45, a resolution assuring the Kansas Department of Commerce that funds will be continually provided for the operation and maintenance of improvements to the Brown Street sewer to be financed with community development block grants. Executive Director of Public Works, Jim Wright, will make comments.
Does the commission have any questions regarding that?
No.
Okay.
I will move to approve Resolution R-25-45 as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Vice Mayor Van Oster, seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve Resolution R-25-45 as presented. Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to old business. We will have the second reading of ordinance G-25-01, an ordinance amending certain electric rate schedules pursuant to section 42-6 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Coffeyville, Kansas.
I'd like to make a proposal for an amendment to this. I would like to propose, after seeing the numbers that we saw about where we're at and where we're projected, and also, you know, the wholesale rate increase we've had in October, the one that's coming this October, it seems to me that we are not operating in the positive according to these numbers. And if we want to be able to maintain the mill levy to be where it is, we shouldn't go much longer. We need to start making up for that wholesale rate increase last October and the one that's coming this October. So I'm proposing we amend that we raise the electric rate by 2% as soon as possible, and then the numbers in January stay the same, and so that increase then would be less. Mr. Weiner, could you please speak on?
What would be the impact of that? So if we were to go ahead and do 2% of the average 7% increase now, certainly that would make a positive impact on our current cash flow. As Commissioner Hendricks articulated, we are in a little bit of a challenging position at the moment and have been here the past couple years. Certainly the PCA being more positive and being more so every month moving forward here is going to help that. But it is certainly something that we are still seeing from a cash flow perspective. Those numbers are unfortunately going the wrong direction, and as we've discussed, our capital expenses this year are going to be fairly significant. Plan to bring those to you hopefully here. I think next meeting we're hoping to have budget amendments for 25 or within the next month or so. Trying to have those to you guys, so we'll see kind of what that looks like. But you know, $5 million in capital is a lot of money, is my request, and so that's a lot. But it's all stuff that's been deferred for years, and you know, some of that stuff's already in the works with the Warzel engines and whatnot. And those costs just keep going up. So certainly that'd be helpful if we could do that, and certainly we could. The challenge would just be, I guess, to we could pull out that the 2%. Immediately. I'd need to run the numbers on exactly what that would mean for everybody today, and then have that what that increase would be, immediately, whether we did that July 1 or what that would be, or whether and then what that would then be January 1. So obviously that's a little bit different numbers. January 1 obviously would be the same, but what that would look like here more immediately. So I don't have those numbers in front of me today. So
In the absence of something like this, at what point does the department go into red ink?
So we have been, I would say, in the red here the past 2 years. In 2023 and in 2024, the utility did lose cash reserves. We spent down our cash reserves because we didn't have enough revenue to cover expenses. I project this year will be the same. Even with the increase in revenue that we're seeing with the PCA, and even with this increase that we're proposing, I am projecting a deficit budget, so to speak, this year because we have so much we need to do this year. Now, next year, I don't anticipate to spend quite as much in capital. In 26, same thing in 27. I expect those numbers to go down a little bit, as well as obviously we've talked about further rate increases in the next couple years, and so that will certainly help matters. But we have been in the red for the past 2 years, and I anticipate we will be again this year.
So if we still wait till January, how much will we still be able to do in 26 what you're proposing? Because you said we're in the red now.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be not quite so much next year. How much is raising them now versus waiting till January going to impact?
Commissioners, let me just speak to that a little bit. So I sent you this sheet, and Chris may not be aware of that sheet. These are his numbers and Marty's numbers that we've gone back and forth on. But with the impact you're talking about to our cash balances, at the end of last year, we were about 17 million in those electric funds. When we looked recently, we were more like the 14 million, and we're proposing 5 million in needed deferred expenditures remaining into this year. And so by next year, we're going to be down to around the 9 million. So anything that we're doing is not going to catch us up into those cash balances that our consultant is recommending, which is a healthy balance of around 19 million. So we're already going to be experiencing the last 10 years of what I'd call, not the appropriate number to keep those cash balances up. That's hitting us regardless. And frankly, whether you do it now or you do it in January, we're going to all feel those impacts at this point.
Okay.
We're just not going to catch up fast enough. So I think the suggestion is start sooner than later, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, listen, the
Commissioner
impact,
Hendricks.
end of year impact, to not be so far behind by end of year. I think a 2% increase now is manageable.
So 2% now, and then when are you thinking another increase?
January.
So 2% now, and then the rest of it in January, or an
Yes.
additional?
The January numbers would stay the same.
So an
Meaning,
additional.
So an
The rate,
additional
not
2%.
additional.
So how much would this 2% generate?
no, the 2% now, the numbers in January. So in January, the increase will be less
It would be
than what we're saying
5%.
now.
So this is instead of, not in addition to. In other words,
I'm saying
we're taking a
rate,
piece of that
yes,
in
and putting
January
it
and we're
now.
going to do it now.
Right,
So we're not going the whole thing in January and an additional 2% in?
correct.
So how much would that 2% generate?
I would estimate somewhere around $150,000 to $175,000 if we were to go ahead and for the next 6 months. If we were to implement that, that would generate somewhere in that range of revenue.
It's not trivial. It's something. It'll help not get so far behind.
The only thing I'm struggling with is we're already doing the PCA, which is big for a lot of people. And do we add more to it now, or do we wait?
I'm just looking at the numbers.
I know, I'm trying to look at the numbers and the impact it's gonna have on
I'll
other
just say it,
people.
keep doing what we're doing is fiscally irresponsible.
It might be, but we also have to think about our citizens at the same time. We've got to find that balance.
We have got to protect the electric utility to not be in this kind of shape. You should do what we need to do.
I would rather have a work session and sit down and see what we need to adjust in the 2025 budget than to raise electric rates. I mean, we just spent $225,000 on a truck.
The question is, was the truck needed? Were those things needed? We've spent a lot of money this past year on things.
And I'm sure that each department can make a justification that what they ask for is needed.
Are you suggesting we cut all major purchases for the rest of the year?
I'm just saying that we revisit them and take a look at them. We might find something that sticks out that we might be able to do without.
Again, we go back to the work session we had for electric this past year. Last year, we agreed.
And yet tonight.
This is what we needed to do.
And yet tonight, no, you've wanted to raise electric rates all along, and I have all along said no. That's the truth.
How do you justify the numbers then?
They're
showing the numbers.
Tonight is
that
the
we're
first
getting
night
worse.
that I have heard that we are operating in the red.
We heard that during the work sessions.
We heard that it was possible that it was going to start happening.
We also heard that we haven't changed the rates hardly any in 10 years. We're 3.8% higher than they were 10 years ago. So 3.8% over a period of 10 years.
So
that's ridiculous
So
in
how
itself.
does the public, when they watch, I don't know, any number of news outlets, and they hear that among many other sectors, the energy costs are dropping in the country right now, and yet they're going to see an increase in their utility bill?
What do you mean in the country? Our wholesale rate went up 4% last October.
Did it? I asked for that paperwork and I never received it.
So you don't believe me? Is that what you're saying?
I would like to see it for myself.
And then
I've been a commissioner now for 10 years. I have never once seen a bill from GRDA for electricity. I would like to see what they look like. And so they're
per
telling us...
kilowatt hour, per megawatt hour?
So they're telling us that they're going to go up. Perhaps they will. But the news over the last couple of weeks is that the energy costs in the country are dropping.
That's a short-term effect.
I'm just saying...
We're talking about 10 years of accumulated inaction.
From the city.
By the city.
Yeah.
I don't think it's appropriate to compare that kind of a short-term, quick turnaround gain to the economy to the 10 years of inaction that we've suffered under.
And my question is that lowering, is that a fluctuation, a short-time fluctuation?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, we've watched our electric rates not be raised in all this time.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to continue to go down, we're going to eventually catch up with each other.
Sure.
But if they're going to come down now and then go right back up in a couple of months, then I would be a little concerned that we really aren't keeping up.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just trying to process this in my head because
Yeah.
I'm looking at our situation. Our wholesale rate went up. Our costs went up. Our engine rebuild costs are up. You're looking at all this and you're saying don't raise rates. I mean, you're looking at point A and point B, and we're not making as much, say, profit from it to transfer to the general fund to keep the mill levy down.
Well, and that's an important distinction to make. We're not going broke. The city could run the electric utility in the red for the rest of this calendar year, and we're still not going to be in the red. We have reserves. Now, I'm not saying that the best thing to do with those reserves is to burn through them all. I wouldn't say that that's what we should do. But my point is, I just read an article. I can't remember the name. I think it's a Kansas Policy Institute. I may be wrong. And it was a story about all these cities and counties that are sitting on piles of cash that we call unencumbered cash, and how even despite that, rates, whether they're utility rates or property tax rates or sales tax rates, continue to go up.
Ours
And
didn't.
the question is, at what point does a city have enough reserves? Now, the people that we paid to come in and do this study said, well, we think your reserves should be at this level, given the age of your electric infrastructure, correct?
One factor, yes.
Yeah, among many factors, but primarily, they look at the age of our infrastructure, they project out if we're spending what we should to maintain that infrastructure, what they would suggest that we maintain. And that's really what we're debating here, which is how much reserves are we going to maintain?
Well, you're suggesting we deplete those reserves.
I'm not suggesting that at all.
It
I'm
sounds like
I'm
significantly depleting them.
Well, then how much is in that reserve account right
How-
now?
how-
Why are you asking him? I'm asking you. How much is in that, if you're sure we're going to deplete it, how much is in that account right now?
Well, they just said what it is. It's going to be
14?
about 14 million.
And
And
then-
we're at 19.
And if
We've spent money
if you
and we
wait
haven't
until
paid
January,
for-
if you wait until January for that 7% increase, how much is that going to cost you?
So why can't we do a 2% now and a 5%
What's the answer to that
increase
question?
then?
If you wait,
Why do you want the big jump in January?
I don't want a big jump at all. The city staff has already changed the formula.
Again,
For-
equipment costs more, trucks cost more, transformers are gonna cost more. We're already projecting all these cost increases.
And I'm
We
saying
have
out of
to
a, I'm
do
saying out of a
something about it.
$110 million budget, of which, let's say 50 million of that budget is not passed through from purchasing electricity from GRDA. If we can't find a few $100,000 of savings, some of which may have already occurred, we're already, nearly 5 months through a 12-month year, and you know as well as I do that there's plenty of elbow room built into these budgets. Let's look at how much money we've saved in that 4.5 months, and look at what we can possibly save going forward before you jump to making people pay more for electricity. I will say this, there are a lot, you look at the commercial rates, there are a lot of companies, just like the city sets its budget, 6 months ahead of time. If you put a substantial increase on the backs of the businesses in town, a lot of them didn't budget for that.
Well, what Commissioner, I think the bottom line here is that Commissioner Hendricks is proposing that rather than hit the community with a full 7% in January, we do it incrementally, 2 now and 5 later. So it's not as impactful
Yep.
all at once.
So how much is there, the PCA increase, how much is that going to be of an increase? What did you say that was?
That's 10%, isn't it?
Well, I looked at the PCA on my last bill and it was next to nothing.
It still is low.
That's
but-
not, it's gonna, it
But every
keeps
month,
going up.
every month it's
Right.
increasing.
That's
Because
right.
that's being added to each month.
And
That's
that was
right.
because according to Mr. Weiner, the calculation was incorrect. And it should have been higher all along the past, 5 years?
Approximately, that's when it's been the most, we would have seen the most difference, yes. So the expectation is that we're probably looking at a little bit over a 10% increase based on the PCA.
And that's going to accrue, and, that's going to be added kind of each month till October is when it'll hit that full 10%?
Yeah, probably somewhere around there, because we want a 6-month rolling average, and so.
Right, and so we're rolling more of it in.
Right, I think April was if I recall, was the first month that you saw a positive number on your PCA, where we had that change, and so you'll wind up then April, May, June, July, August, September. So the October bill will be the first one that you really
Are
see.
you
that.
projecting the PCA from GRDA will be higher?
Yes, I project that will be significantly higher as well, probably somewhere to the tune of about a 1,200% increase from them, where we are today. But percent-wise really isn't it is very applicable here. We're looking at about a penny on their PCA compared to what it has been. But so that's what the impact on our PCA will probably about a another 10% increase onto our PCA that we're expecting their PCA cost to pass through onto our bills. So our cost will go up because their PCA is going to go up from about 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour that our community uses up to about 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour is what they're projecting here 12 months out. So that on their trend that they have are looking at, that is not peaked yet, and so they're projecting that it's probably going to continue on that path. I don't know for how long, but that it's on an upward trajectory, and so then it will start coming back down, just kind of how the way that they do their billing. But at what point does that start coming back down? In 2 years? I don't know when that will happen. So
Because that's a fluid cost.
it is. It's designed that they will over-collect and then they will under-collect, and so it'll basically be kind of like we do a rolling average, but theirs is over a longer time period, and they're intentionally under and or over-collect. And so eventually they balance out, though. But we obviously, and our customers then see the impacts of that as we have to pass those costs through, or eat them if we decide to try and not cover those costs, but that obviously comes at a cost.
So eating them is what's lowering our funds, eating that cost.
Over the
Right.
past
Over
few
the
years.
past few years, that's what's
Yeah.
happened.
Right, we have just eaten a lot of that cost
Right.
that we should have been passing through, and so we've
It's
under-collected on revenue.
lowering our reserves in the process.
Correct. And we've deferred a lot of equipment purchases and maintenance projects that we should have done in previous years. This year, talking about the capital projects I was talking about, and talking about, we just spent a lot of money on a new bucket truck. We did, but that bucket truck was ordered 2 years ago, and it finally just now got delivered. We haven't really ordered any new big equipment since then. I have guys working in a bucket truck right now that has a hole in the bucket. It's not safe, but we've tried to get by with what we have until we get a budget approved that you guys say, okay, yes, this is what we can spend, what I can request. I don't think anybody's going to fall through the hole. It's not, that significant of a hole, but it's still something that the structural integrity,
That's
at
a
some
safety
point,
issue.
it's a safety issue. We have a number of those types of issues that we need to address, and we just have delayed or deferred because we don't have the money.
Is the $5 million include some of the industrial park upgrades, or is that not even in there?
That's not in there either.
We've got
Okay.
some of our industrial users who are suffering losses because of the aged equipment that we have, and every day that they're out, I've been told that's $100,000 where they're out of business. This $5 million isn't even the drop in the bucket. Commission and staff for years have been pushing this stuff off. This is not all of a sudden you've been pushing off. That's the numbers we're trying to show. We're on a pattern of pushing those things off, holding back, of waiting. And yes, the cash reserves have gone up, but when you've got multiple $1 million in projects that you're going to dip those. That's why our consultants tried to get us to do a $4 million bond. They went and looked at what's projected that needs to be done, and we said no to that. So, commissioners, you have a difficult position to be in. You're right. You've got what the numbers say, and then you have to go and speak to the residents. But staff is trying to show that we're at an intersection now where we've been able to hold back on all of that long enough that eventually those lines are going to start crossing if we don't come up from that dive. And hopefully this can be the commission that turns that pattern around and we start having small increases over 10 years versus nearly nothing for 10 years and large increases. We don't want to do this. This is not the right way to do it.
So are you suggesting two, say July, June?
Yes, yes.
July, give people
Right.
a time, July,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 5 in January.
Yeah, so the numbers in January stay the same as they are now, but we're just splitting up the increase to
The
be
increased part
part
now
of it
and part
now.
later.
Mayor, I'd like to call the question.
Okay?
I second Commissioner Hendricks's motion to split the increase to 2% to take effect in July, and the remaining 5% in January as originally proposed.
And I believe, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, by making a change, this actually turns into the first reading.
Reading.
We would come
First
back
reading
and
of
have
the
to have a
ordinance.
Gotta
second.
start all over.
Right.
Right.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, I don't know that technically that is required, but I do think that's the way we've done things, and it's a material change to the ordinance, and I think in fairness, we should consider this first reading.
Okay, so motion is made by Mayor Hendricks, seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve the first reading of ordinance G 25-01 with the presented changes. Commissioner Edwards?
No.
Commissioner Hendricks?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster?
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner?
Aye.
Mayor Maples?
Aye. Now, I'm going to ask this question. We're going to get on explaining, because I know this morning when you talked about the electric rates that we were going to spend the next 6 months,
Yeah.
explaining the increase in January. And so we really need to be respectful to our citizens about explaining what this is going to do,
So
because they're not going to understand a lot, you know.
we've already started receiving those calls because the Chronicle put an article in a week or so ago, and so we've had an influx of calls. We finalized several pages of FAQs that will be on our website. Now, we anticipated to put out a press release tomorrow based on the second reading of an ordinance. It's now the first. I hesitate to do that until we're actually
Right.
finalized, in
Finalized.
case we have a change again this next time. But yes, we've been working on infographics. What is the PCA? How to read my bill? Wiring costs going up? Several of those that we had planned to periodically roll out since we're looking at January. Now that we're July, we need to speed that up to get
Right.
those out sooner. But the FAQs should be out tomorrow. But again, now I'm,
Yeah.
depending on that next meeting and if this actually passes again.
Could I ask that you mail that, can you put
They
those
will
in a
be.
mailer?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
that way people can see it. When they open their bill,
That's the
they
intention.
can read that,
Yep.
especially if they don't get social media or listen to the radio or whatever. That, I mean, anything we can do to get this information that they need to help them understand.
Understand
that's
it.
the plan.
That's the main, because,
Now, getting them all in we can get them all in a mailer before July. If the second reading happens 22nd to 30th of this month, yes, we should be able to get those in mailers in July, starting in July, so folks would see them, those 3 different cycles throughout July.
I get both sides of it. The business
I
side,
think
as far
we
as
do.
the
We all
city.
do. We just don't like
You
it.
know, and yet I understand what our citizens are the impact it's going to be. And to our citizens and our businesses, yes. I just want to make sure that that is all handled respectfully, and we try to help them, because that's what we should be doing, helping them understand why we're having to do these things.
Not an easy thing to be doing. And
No,
I'm hoping
definitely.
that as we get through this process and we get on a good schedule of rate increases that are minimal to our citizens steadily, rather than this situation we're in now, we won't have to go through this again.
I agree entirely personally, and I think City Manager Brubaker said it on the radio this morning, but it'd be great if we could, after this is done, we have 3 years of this, if we could get hopefully some kind of sequence that is, 2% a year, or whatever that may be. That's what I think the average, a little over 2% a year has been in the state for the past decade. compared to the 0.3 or 0.38% that I think we've seen on average over the past decade. That stair-step approach, that gradual approach, is much easier for our customers and our businesses to absorb. So I'd love to see if we could have hopefully the commission support at that point, 3 years from now, to have that kind of approach rather than have to wait, 7, 8 years, a decade, and then do a large increase all at once, because that is challenging for everyone, yourselves included. So appreciate your support, and I'll try and get that put together so you can have that to look at, what that 2% increase looks like. And then if anyone else, Commissioner Edwards, I'll be happy to send you a GRDA bill. If there's any other information you'd like, please let me know. I'd be happy to try and share whatever I can. Same goes for the rest of the commission. If there's anything that you'd like to see, whether it's data or over the past years, or bills, whatever, I'd be happy to try and share whatever I can to try and help you in your decision and make you more comfortable with.
I appreciate that. Would
Receipt.
it also be possible to get a copy of what you're going to mail out at our next meeting for the second reading for us to look at?
Yeah, I can get you lots of drafts. Yes, I have tons of drafts. Whether or not they're finalized, I'm kind of hesitant until I know our final decision, but I can bring
whatever
drafts.
Whatever your most recent version of
Yes.
what you're going
In
to mail
fact, we
out.
can email those out before that meeting, so you see
Yeah.
them sooner.
Okay.
I can also send you copies of the FAQs that we've been working on.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thanks.
We know you're working hard at this, so we appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, now, second reading of ordinance S-25-04, authorizing the execution of a loan agreement between the City of Coffeyville and the State of Kansas for the purpose of obtaining a loan from the Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund for the purpose of funding a public water supply project. Would you want to make any comments, Ben?
This is the lead pipes. We want this approved. There's a mandate.
Okay.
We are,
Watch it, Don.
Enough said.
Well, if you really wanted to prove.
we're nervous on the implications of this. And so we've had extra calls for the last few weeks to really understand what this means. And although you can get some forgiveness, you're out that money. And we're going to be out money that we're also trying to plan for significant infrastructure projects and all the road repairs that we're trying to do. And so staff is, we want to go through with this. You've heard this over and over again. This is that second reading. This is that specific grant that is not really a grant, I guess it's a loan forgiveness is the right word to put on it. But we're not going to necessarily go execute immediately. We're still ferreting out all these details. We've kind of expected that maybe the federal government will come in and change some of that. It doesn't look like they are. Jim put it a good way. You don't want to be the administration that says, nope, you don't get clean water, if that's really the statement. So this is really complicated. We're still making sure before we submit those signatures that we have felt like we can accomplish this. We have a timeline that's a short timeline, and once you start digging, if you find things, you have to replace it. You don't get an option to put the dirt back over and go, never mind. So it could be a significant drain. It's also a significant benefit. We're trying to figure out which one outweighs the other. So yes, we do want you to say yes, but it's complicated, and it doesn't mean
I
we're going to
heard
go
that the first two
execute
times.
this. Yes.
I will move to approve our second reading of S-25-04 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Vice Mayor Van Oster, seconded by Mayor Maples, to approve the second reading of S-24-04 as presented. Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to new business. We have Resolution R-25-46, a resolution to authorize purchase of 2 Dodge Durangos and necessary equipment for the Coffeyville Police Department. Police Captain Darren Daly will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Before you have a resolution to approve the purchase of 2 Dodge Durangos for the cost of $78,436 from Landmark Dodge in Independence, Missouri. We were able to take advantage of a special deal that Landmark was able to take advantage of, a special pricing. So normally we're paying the state contract price here in Kansas, which is a little over $41,000. With these two, we were able to get them for $39,218. So total savings of $5,472 than we originally expected. We're going to continue to use and recommend Superior Emergency Response in Andover, Kansas, to install the necessary emergency equipment in the vehicles. The cost of that for both vehicles is $27,251.88. And then here locally, we utilize Designs Unlimited to put the graphics on our patrol vehicles, and each one of those is $700 a piece, so a total of $1,400 for those. So it brings your grand total to $107,087.88. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are these going to be patrol vehicles?
Yes.
How many patrol officers do we have that still don't have their own vehicles?
We have 9. We have, right now on our patrol fleet, we have 6 frontline cars, and then I have 9 officers. We recently did have to take a vehicle out of service. It was just having too many issues. We got another vehicle, high mileage. We're trying to get the most out of them that we can. Ultimately, I mean, the long-term goal is have everyone assigned a specific vehicle to save us on maintenance and get longevity out of the vehicles. So it's a gradual process. We're fortunate, before to have ARPA funds, because it is a big cost up front, but in the long term, we will, I believe, save us, the city, lots of money.
Did we finally get delivery on all the vehicles that we got?
Yes.
Through those funds? Okay.
Yes.
And since we're acquiring 2 new vehicles, are we also giving up 2?
Well, we gave up 1. We're going to try to nurse the other ones along. Hopefully with the 2 new, that'll alleviate some of the driving of the older vehicle. We try to tell the officers not to use those vehicles unless they absolutely have to. We try to use the newer ones as much as we can up front.
Because you're trying to increase the number in the
Right.
fleet, not replace.
Right.
At this point.
Do you keep the oldest one kind of as a spare in case?
We would like to. That'd be the end goal, at least have 1 spare in case one goes down. An officer can have that one available. Worst case scenario, 2 officers might have to share a vehicle. I mean, just
In a typical year, how often do you have one car that's down for repairs?
it comes and goes in waves. One minute I've got 3 vehicles in the shop, and then the next we might go a month or 2 with nothing going on. So it varies. Because right now, like I said, we're still. I've got 3 vehicles now that have got well over 120,000 miles. So, and those are unfortunately rough miles. So.
I'm just curious, how'd you stumble on this deal?
I'll give credit to the chief on that one. He called a dealership that we'd used in the past, and they said, hey, we got this special officer. Basically, the offer came from California. Dodge offered California only a special deal due to the wildfires on emergency vehicles that got burned up. And then I guess Missouri was smart enough, said, hey, you just can't do that for California. And so they were able to take advantage of that. Our local, who we've gone through here in Kansas, they weren't able to take advantage of it. They understood why we did what we had to do, and they're still equipping the vehicles. So,
How far are we from going to electric vehicles for patrol vehicles?
I don't know. I haven't seen those yet.
I know in California there are some jurisdictions that are starting to roll them out. It's going to be interesting to see how they work out.
Yeah.
I know
think,
they're-
the infrastructure would be the big thing, probably.
Sure.
And downtime for charging?
Yeah.
Move to approve
And-
Resolution R2546 as presented.
Second.
You did want us to vote yes on this one too, right? I should have asked before I made the motion.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, second by Vice Mayor Van Oster, to approve Resolution R-25-46 as presented. Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, Resolution R-25-47, a resolution to award a design engineering contract for the 2027 C-CLIP project to B&G Consultants. Executive Director of Public Works, Jim Wright, will make comments. Hello again.
Yes.
In July of '24, the city of Coffeyville was awarded and requested a programming for the 27 C-CLIP to reconstruct a section of US 166 located at the intersection of Luark and on January 14th of '25, the grant agreement was finalized. C-CLIP stands for City Connecting Link Improvements. Next step in the process to award the design to the engineering. A request for qualifications was sent out. We received 3 responses, and we made the selection of BG Consultants. The city will be reimbursed 100% of the design, $82,445. It's a 3-way contract between us, this KDOT, and BG Consultants.
Okay. I will move to approve Resolution R-25-47 as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Vice Mayor Van Oster, seconded by Commissioner Faulkner, to approve Resolution R-25-47 as presented. Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, stay here. Resolution R-25-48, a resolution to authorize purchase of a Citrans FM Mag 1500W meter, the materials needed for installation, and approval to issue an invitation to bids on labor to install the new metering system. Executive Director of Public Works, Jim Wright, will make comments.
Currently, we have 2 propeller meters that we use, and this is in the line that goes from the clear well, where all the water, when it leaves the building in the filter beds, it gets put into the clear well. Then from the clear well, it gets pumped up to the reservoirs. So this would go in line to determine, it'll tell us what we're pumping up to the reservoirs. So we have a meter just like this that you guys approved last year to put in the raw water line that's coming from the river. That's required, that we have to submit to KDHE and tell us how much water we're diverting from the river. This one will tell us how much water is going up to the reservoir, so we know the difference between the two is what we lose in the process, but we have a better understanding of how much water we put out into the system. Currently, we have 2 different kinds of propeller meters, and one of them's got 6 blades, one of them's got 8. Every year, they have to be calibrated. Some years they have to have repairs. It's $1,000 each time we do that. We would like to replace it with a mag meter, which has no moving parts. It does it on magnetic. We would like to purchase the parts, the meter, and all the additional parts, I think, are in there from Hartsall and also Core and Main. We would like to have all the parts on hand, and we'd like to contract this out. Since this is going to be a time-sensitive thing that we do, we have to shut down that line, and we'd like to have a contractor because we may not have the equipment needed at the right time of when they need to do this, so.
So then one line would be measured with the new magnetic meter, and the other line will still be measured with the blades?
No, there's only one line that feeds the manifold.
Gotcha, okay.
From the clear well, and then there's the several lines that go up the hill currently.
Gotcha.
Where does the loss occur?
In the treatment process.
Yeah, and the treatment, and the leaks that we have there, the water that's constantly running, because we have to leave water running in all 3 of the sinks for continuous testing.
Okay, thank you.
No further questions. I move to approve Resolution R-25-48 as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Mayor Maples, seconded by Commissioner Edwards to approve Resolution R-25-48 as presented. Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye. Thank you. All right, Resolution R-25-49, a resolution to approve a construction contract with Bettis Asphalt and Construction for the 2025 Street Improvement Project. Executive Director of Public Works, Jim Wright, will make comments.
We are asking for you guys to sign a resolution to begin the 25 street projects. This was for 6th and 7th Street from Fresno east to the dead end. Also Woodland and Stark from Klein to Buckeye. Buckeye Street 1st to Columbus. 1st Street from Buckeye to Central, and Lee Street, which is the gravel street on the east side of the tennis courts.
So that would be from Stark to its southern terminus.
Correct. That is correct. Also, we've got in there, it wasn't listed here, but the parking lot for the tennis court, a new curb and gutter for it.
So that would put new all around the tennis court plus the new tennis court.
Correct. Yes.
Very nice. Is that just an overlay?
The Lee Street would be a total construction with curb and gutter added.
Okay.
We will remove and new curb and gutter for the parking area also. 6th and 7th Street will be a total reconstruct. We'll keep the open ditches. We'll not have curb and gutter there. And then it'll be a mill and overlay on 1st Street from Buckeye to Central.
Okay.
Is it an extra mill on First Street? Because that's been overlaid several times.
Well, that's due for a 4-inch overlay, isn't it? According to this.
Well, we're hoping it will just be a mill and overlay. My guess is it will be more than that. We'll have to probably add in an extra for additional curb and gutter to be replaced on that. So you're right, it may be.
We all remember it's been overlaid.
Oh, yes,
and
yeah.
some of the
Where there's
street
no
is
curb.
above the curb.
Yes.
It needs to be
You are
corrected.
correct.
Okay.
They've already done that,
Okay.
so this is from my remember.
I take it Central East is in the future, because that is in need of some care.
We're hoping to get
The grant.
That big
grant
grant
truck
to
funded
route.
do
on the
that.
truck
Yeah.
routes
Yeah.
Yeah.
there.
That's what I was thinking.
So again, I'm referring to this spreadsheet from our work session. We still have a number of street projects to come before us to be approved, correct, for this summer?
Yes, there'll be
Okay.
more.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is the
I believe
first
that we're opening bids around the hospital on the 21st of May, and I'm not sure when our next commission meeting will be. Yes,
Just a quick, are we waiting till the clinic is done in case there's construction vehicles in and out of there, or is there a timing?
could do-
They've got,
we-
they've got entrances on
Buckeye.
Buckeye, and what's the other street on the west side of the clinic there?
Okay, I just didn't know if there
But we
would be
could also
some
be doing
interference.
first, second, and third.
shouldn't be.
Those could, and Poplar, those could all be done.
My biggest
We've met
concern
with
is-
the hospital, reviewed this with them. We've talked about keeping an entrance open for emergency vehicles. There's
Sure.
going to be other construction that they're planning, and so we're just going to all get along
My-
and try to work well together.
My biggest concern, and I'm sure you guys are going to take care of this, is the section of 4th Street adjacent to the elementary school being done before school starts back up. Because that could
Yes,
become a
we've-
disaster if it's not done.
We have talked about that, so yes.
Yeah. Okay.
No further questions. I move to approve Resolution R-25-49 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Mayor Maples, seconded by Vice Mayor Van Oster to approve Resolution R-25-49 as presented. Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it? For you?
All right, Resolution R-25-550, a resolution to authorize payment to Tyler Technologies for the annual maintenance fees for the municipal financial billing, court, and related software. Director of Finance, Martin Cummings, will make comments. Come on down.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening. Here, 1 second, just pulling my notes up. I was researching wholesale energy costs actually just now, so I was so taken with our discussion earlier. So, one second. All right. All right. So last year, the commission authorized the city to upgrade the version of Encode that we were on from Encode 9 to ERP Pro 9, which essentially just changed where the software is hosted from. Previously, it had been hosted on our server that we had here on premises, but due to concerns about security, both physical security of the server itself, as well as other protections that we would like to have our data on our data. That was brought to commission last year. You guys approved that particular decision. The annual cost is now going to be $125,282.90. Just to give you guys a little context, that it is, and I need to acknowledge this out loud, more expensive having them host it for us than it is for us to host it on our own servers. Historically, we spent right around $50,000 a year on that maintenance because, again, we are using our own hardware and infrastructure. But the bulk of the application is our general financial application there. So financial accounting, accounts payable, receivable, our general ledger reports that we produce, as well as the budget components, things like that. The next biggest portion of that bill is attributed to our utility billing. And so a considerable amount, probably about about 50% of the cost of the software is attributable to our general financial applications. Another 40%-ish is attributable to utility billing, and the final 10% is attributable to our court bond module. Okay, and so that's why you see here on there 3 different budget line items that this will be occupying. Okay, but apart from that, do you guys have any questions?
So I know, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So I know we had a discussion a few meetings ago about the security of the city's computer infrastructure. Are we not going this route now, and we're doing this instead for some of it, or where are we at?
No, that's for the entire network. This
Yeah.
decision was made because if you look at a variety of these softwares and where you store them,
Yep.
what is safer versus not. So it's the end data, not the access within your network.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the IT person to interpret that correctly, but both cybersecurity issues, but separate, not the same. So we
So
can't
no-
host this data
Okay,
through
okay. Gotcha.
Cuba or something else. So the decision was made over a year ago to host it with Encode in their cloud.
Right.
I understand.
And that's actually precisely what the concern was. You have a single point of failure by hosting it on your server on site. You have to incur the cost of backups, which we were not routinely doing, for the record, so.
And you would find that going through Huber, that would be a recommendation anyways. They'll come in and they'll say, oh, here's your points of failure.
Yeah.
You need to go upgrade this. So
Okay.
a cybersecurity posture is way bigger than just that one aspect of your work.
Are we only using this or moving to this to host our data with them? Is that really the major upgrade, or is it a version upgrade, extra capability,
So
et cetera?
there was a twofold purpose ultimately in the decision that was made last year. One was to make sure that to continue using the current Tyler product essentially that we have, to have it hosted off-site, so that's our data, and then just the software functionality itself is hosted off-site. And then the final thing was that this new fee, this $125,000, is essentially also the cost that we would be paying once we upgrade, should we decide to upgrade to version 10, ERP Pro 10, which is a true HTML-based product. So it's a true cloud product where I'm logging into it from my browser. It's not a software that I access on my desktop or on somebody else's server, which is what we're doing now. So just that's really what this sets us up to do. So makes it easier to make that transition should we decide to make that also with Encode ultimately, and which we're still assessing our options in terms of future state of our accounting and finance softwares right now. So at some point, I'm sure we'll be back here to discuss that and to kind of review options with you guys. We're still kind of going through that process of assessing that right now. We did also include a copy of the invoice for your reference. You can kind of see what that looks like and see how that's distributed amongst the different softwares or the different components to the software suite that we're paying the maintenance on, or that we're asking you guys to authorize the expenditure for the payment of the maintenance on. So,
I'm just curious too, there's, excuse me, there was a last line there on that sheet, third-party fees for non-SQL, what, 5,000? I mean, in the greater scheme of things, it's not that much, but who's that?
so they have their own system maintenance that they have to pay for and maintain. We're using their server instead of ours, and so they have their own third-party stuff that they're passing on to us. Think of it kind of like a PCA for software. So
I thought so.
So
That's a pass-through to us.
pass through to us, yeah.
You gotta love those pass-throughs.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
So,
All right.
Well, I will move to approve Resolution R-25-50 as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Vice Mayor Van Oster, seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve Resolution R-25-50 as presented. Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, Resolution R-25-51, a resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute a real estate contract by and between the City of Coffeyville and Chris and Brittany Weiner. Director of Community Development, Amber Dean will make comments.
Hello. You guys ready to sell a house?
Yep.
Yes.
That's what we're here for tonight. We received an offer on 904 West 9th from Chris and Brittany for $173,800. I'm just seeking approval to execute that contract.
Okay.
The money that we generated off the first house on 9th Street and this one goes back into community development
It goes back into the housing fund.
or housing fund? And then are we going to, no, we're not going to build any more
again?
houses?
No, not currently.
Okay.
When we presented our developer incentive plans, that was using that money to encourage developers to come. And
Okay.
we've seen that influx, so we didn't feel the need that we needed to go build. We'll evaluate that every year. We've gone through an experiment between those two houses, total cost versus what we made back. We probably spent $6,000. I mean, that's pretty good to have to go spend $6,000, get two houses, add to the tax base. infill lots. So we feel like that was a successful outcome. In fact, we have SEK that does their own housing conference has asked us to come speak to that and kind of share that story because it's a pretty successful story.
Move to approve Resolution R2551 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Vice Mayor Van Oster to approve Resolution R-25-51 as presented. Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Resolution R-25-52, a resolution to authorize an increase in the previously approved not-to-exceed amount for purchase of parts and maintenance overhaul of Wartsila engines. Executive Director of Electric, Chris Weiner, will make comments.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys giving me some place to stay.
Yeah.
We do want to say the Wartzilla engines, the project has been ongoing for quite a while, as you know. If you have in front of you a couple of, this will be to approve some modifications to our existing approved amount. We were just over 2.8 million, I believe, is what we had previously authorized through two different resolutions. So the combined amount is at 2.8. So this bumps us up to 3 million is the request to hopefully get us through to get all the remaining work done. We have about $160,000 of work from KE Marine we need to get authorized to be able to hopefully get engine 9 back up and going. We've ran into, I believe I tried to articulate a little bit of the staff report there, but some unforeseen issues on all these engines that were getting rectified, and hopefully by getting these things sealed and torqued back properly, we won't have these same issues again at our next overhaul that we have to do, which will, given the run time and how much more frequently we're being ran every year and the expectations we have moving forward, is probably going to be much sooner that we reach another 20,000 hours than what it took us this time. It was 8 years to reach this point. And I anticipate we may be at this point again in 4 to 5 years, in half the time as what we saw. But at that point, we're probably, instead of a $3 million project, we're probably talking about a $4 million, maybe more, dollar project at that point because inflation happens. So it's unfortunate, but obviously the engines provide a heck of an asset for us, and they will continue to do so. But we just need to get the things back up and operational. So would love to see you authorize this to hopefully get 9 done. Hopefully we don't have any more major issues arise. This gives us another approximately $50,000 or so in an extra contingency in the event something else comes up. Hopefully we don't need the $50,000, but if we do, then and if we need more than that, then I'll have to come back to you to get more. But I hope that additional money you authorize here, as well as the contingency, certainly should hopefully be enough.
Have you received any, I'll call it heat, from GRDA about downtime on the engines?
No, and at the end of the day, while they'd like us to be back up and going as well, we're the ones that suffer the brunt of the negative financial impact because they charge us essentially when we're an outage and that we don't get the capacity payments, and so it's negative for us mainly to be down. So that's the unfortunate
that's contributing
aspect.
to your operating in the red right now?
It certainly is at the moment because those capacity payments are nice to have, and so for the past 2 months that's been an issue. Obviously, talking about the past 2 years that we've been in that same situation, that was not an issue, but
Sure.
It'll exacerbate the problem this year. So hopefully we'll get those get 8 and 10 back up as soon as possible. We've been troubleshooting some issues there. Believe we've got that issue identified today, and we ordered some parts today that we've got expedited from Wartzilla today. So hopefully we'll get that here shortly, hopefully by the end of the week, and be able to get those parts replaced, and hopefully get 8 and 10 back online to at least get those operational, get those capacity payments flowing, as well as the value of the energy if and when we get called on to run. 9, obviously, we still have some of this outstanding work to do that K Marine's doing for us. We also have our turbo cartridges down in Florida right now being examined. They got there last week. We reached out for an update today. Didn't receive an update yet on that. I was hoping to have that for some insight, hopefully with some good news, but I did not hear back today on whether or not there's any damage to those turbo cartridges or not. The first set of turbos that we sent down for engine 8, there is about $50,000 worth of damage we needed to repair, and the second set on engine 10 that we sent down had about $90,000 worth of damage. So if there is any damage, we could wind up that $50,000 gets eaten away awfully fast. But I certainly hope that that's not the case. So.
Move to approve Resolution R2552 as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Mayor Maples to approve Resolution R-25-52 as presented. Mayor Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a great evening.
All right, we will have a city manager's report.
Thank you. Start with the fun one, then we'll go to the other ones.
Okay.
We've been for months and months talking about the fairgrounds, and I just wanted to give you an update that we expect at our next meeting to show up with engineers' probable cost and our plan that we'd like to implement, where those funds are coming from. That project right now is sitting at about $3.5 million. We are going to apply for a CDBG grant of $1.5 million to go with that. Just some interesting stats to share with you, and I will tell you, over the weekend I was researching Coffeyville history and just uncovered a lot of really fun things. And now of course I'm going to forget the name of the park right now, the fairgrounds. Walter Johnson, goodness, was
Baseball
Forest Park before it was Walter Johnson.
Yes.
And I found postcards from like the 1900s of the lagoon at Forest Park. I've got pictures of race car and pit crews from the 1900s at Forest Park. I found a picture of the original grandstands that had a roof over them and people would watch baseball there. So just a lot of rich history going back over 100 years. We're coming up on 100 years since the Fair Association started to sell those grounds to the city. That was finalized in the 1940s. So just rich history going back. Of course, you know about our Interstate Fair and Rodeo. We have some pretty cool software that can go back and look at attendee counts, and it's all based through cell phone technology, GPS technology. It shows that in the last 7 years, we've had 806,000 visits to our fairgrounds. And those visits are 10 minutes and longer visits, so it's trying to avoid traffic just passing through. And the average length of a stay for those 806,000 visits are 167 minutes. So those people are there working the fairgrounds. I think I mentioned we had the high school rodeo. The Kansas State High School Rodeo Association came in April out to the fairgrounds. A lot of people came. We had 850 families Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Commissioner, when we talked about lowering the mill levy, one of the things that was instructed to staff is let's find other ways to either cut or make that revenue. And this represents an opportunity if you decide to move forward with it, where there could be an increase in sales tax. The current plan would be to replace the livestock barns that are existing, which I have not been able to find an age on, but I have someone who is 85 that told us they were there when he was 5 years old, so maybe 80, maybe 50. They did go through the flood. Invoices, the city did some painting and some light maintenance on those after the flood. They've been there a long time, a long part of history. So removing those and putting in an indoor arena and livestock center, which would allow us to move all of those, all of the livestock show and our fair in there, and then open the door for other events. If we can go and replicate just that high school association event 5, 6, 7, 8 times, you talk about 850 trucks coming and hitting our gas stations and our restaurants and our hotels, Walmart. I have some data that I'll share next week too. Just like this 806,000, we're able to track where they came from before they went to the fairgrounds and where they went after, and it's really fun. The number one spot is Walmart, by the way. You can see percentage, but again,
I figured it'd be El Poblito.
they're in there. I think Sonic, Walmart, El Poblito are in that top 5. So an opportunity, if you choose to follow it, to go that route. So we'll have those numbers, we'll have that engineer report, we'll have, it will be a public hearing for that grant like we had today to go through that process. I also expect there's been a lot of support from both the Fairgrounds Association and other folks in town, so you will probably see a handful of them in the audience may speak in public comment because they're excited for the opportunity there. I will tell you that if we didn't move forward with that project, staff would come back in and suggest that we replace what is standing there today. It's not in a condition to carry forward when we put a lot of livestock and youth every year under those barns. We're putting about 4 shows, the association's putting about 4 shows through that each year. Of course, the fairgrounds, or the Interstate Fair and Rodeo being the largest one. This week, in fact, tomorrow morning, I meet with the Fair Association to try to wrap up a few details and make sure that it does fit their needs. That is primary number 1, our existing show that everyone comes out for. Secondary to that is if we can fill their needs and have an opportunity for that increased sales tax by some of these other events. So we'll look forward to sharing that with you this next week, and a few of you keep asking me for some updates on that. Okay. Melissa, did you have a few items you wanted to bring up?
Yes, so I had sent you guys some information about the new bill for fireworks Kansas has extended the days from 9 to 18 each year that they can sell fireworks. So the new window is June 20th to July 7th. Right now, per our ordinance, we are July 1st through July 4th. The state does not dictate when we can shoot off fireworks, just when we can sell them. We do that through the ordinance of when we can sell and when they can be discharged. So just giving you guys the information, if this is something you are interested in doing and extending the window for sales or sales and discharge.
And that's temporary sales.
Yeah, temporary sales. So they did pass something in here as well for sales year-round, but that would be in a permanent location. But all of that goes through the fire marshal's office to get licensed. So what we're dealing with now is just the seasonal fireworks stands that we have in Coffeyville. And we have an average of about 5 every year that's set up.
We spoke to both our fire and police chiefs about this as well, just to get comments. No real positive negatives on either side for fire. Police did mention that will increase, the probability of those after midnight calls, nuisance calls, when you increase that time. But and I don't want to put words into Quinn's mouth if he wants to add anything to that. Yeah. Independence, you may have seen in the newspaper, made some changes, increased theirs. I think the reason we're bringing this up is because we did have a representative reach out to us and suggest that we should already be doing this. They wanted to do it tonight. It's not how our ordinances work, so that's why the email came, and we're here talking about it. They did not show up this evening. Any direction on change to the ordinance is what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
They want to sell fireworks.
When you've been working for a year to get the legislature to make changes, and they did, I think they're hoping that just happens everywhere.
I'm not real excited about changing it, but I might change by one day earlier, but not past the 4th.
And we don't have to take any action.
Yeah.
This is just, if you want to see action, we can go and put something together and bring it back.
Yeah, and if this is something you don't want to take action on this year and something you want to do moving forward, we can do that as well. I mean, we do have time, if there, is a direction to take to get the ordinance through in 2 readings before this fireworks season starts. But that's, whatever direction you guys want to go. It's just an option for the new bill.
You're turning into a grumpy old man.
I don't have a problem extending sales prior, but I certainly don't want anything going bang after midnight on the 4th.
Bah humbug.
I don't either. Sorry.
Grumpy old man speaking.
Melissa did point out that the 5th this year is a Saturday, correct?
That's what I was just looking at. It's on a Saturday.
Could you maybe live with midnight on Saturday? There being
Shooting them,
Shooting 'em
letting them shoot them on Saturday.
just this year.
That would be what, the 5th?
Yeah, see, the 4th is
Well,
on a Friday.
you're onto something.
Just this- I mean,
If,
just-
if the
We've-
holiday.
It's been done
fall, if the
before.
4th falls on a
Yeah.
Friday, you can shoot on.
On the
Yeah.
next Saturday.
Next, on
It's
Saturday.
been done several
But-
times.
Right
but
now-
if it falls on
It falls on a
Tuesday.
Sunday.
I don't want it Wednesday.
Okay,
night.
On
so
Monday.
right
Back
now,
to work.
okay, wait a minute.
If
Right-
it does fall on a Sunday, we already allow it to go shoot on a Monday.
Monday. Yeah, per our ordinance.
So, okay,
So the 4th of July is Sunday.
yes.
Yeah, so.
Folks are in
it's
church
on
instead of shooting fireworks, I guess, and so we've said go Monday.
Friday.
I don't
So,
know if
yeah,
that's the
when,
reason.
You would
on
have an
sections-
extra day because you have
Yeah.
the weekend. That's what I was getting at when
Yeah.
I asked you about
And the
it.
20th is 2 full weeks ahead.
And we don't have to extend it the whole entire
was just looking at
time.
my
You can-
calendar
to
Yes,
see.
yeah, it's going
That's
from
2
9 to
full
18
weeks.
days, so yeah.
That's
it's-
a long time.
It's a long time.
Yep.
That's a long time.
Martin, why are you laughing?
I'm just imagining all the fun the kids will have when you go ahead and take that.
They don't, Bartlesville doesn't allow them to be shot in the city limits, do they?
It's kind of one of those law enforcement priority questions.
Gotcha. Not supposed to shoot them, but people do?
There's a rule, I don't know whether it has something to do with how high in the sky it goes and whether it's classified as aerial. I live next to a police officer, I don't see him going out there worrying about it. I get the feeling that they don't want to write that many tickets
Gotcha.
in one night.
Yeah.
Well, we have an ordinance to not shoot them in the street, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you got trees in your yard, you'd rather shoot.
You'd rather,
Anyway.
street, if you
Hey, it
shoot
might-
them in
it
your
might-
street, just clean
Oh,
up
never
is all
mind.
I
how
ask.
about everybody just think about it?
Oh, why not?
We'll
Say it.
come
It might
back.
scare away the the
Pigeons?
critters that are out running around that people don't
The
want on the
pigeons
streets
and the
right now.
skunks and
right?
all that kind of stuff.
So maybe we come back next meeting
We'll think about it,
and
yeah.
think about maybe some things
Some ideas.
to do that.
Yeah.
if
And if
that's-
you guys have any questions or anything like that, don't hesitate
Okay.
to reach out.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to be so grumpy, Don.
So another item, we're not all jiving on when we can make that next meeting, being the day after Memorial Day. I was going to say staff would prefer. I would prefer that we do make a change just because staff is out on that Monday and getting ready for this meeting, but that is up to commission on,
You just want the
Where would
20th
like to see
meeting
it?
that's supposed to be on the 27th?
yeah.
Can we just have it on the 20th? That'd be next Tuesday.
Or do you want
You mean
to, is that
maybe
enough time? Do you
Thursday?
want to push it to the 22nd on Thursday or next Tuesday? Either way's fine with me.
Either way's fine with me. I don't care.
I'm not in town
I'm
on
not sure
the
there's a
20th.
need.
You're not in town on
I was gonna say, so
20th.
I'm okay with it on the appropriations ordinance, that would be.
If we're doing a public hearing, I need more time to publish our public hearing
Mm.
notice, so
So what time do we need for a public hearing?
if we could do it the 29th or the 28th,
The 22nd is too soon.
Okay.
I'm looking at,
I'm available anytime the week of the 26th.
Yeah, I would need it the week of the 26th if we're gonna do that public hearing for CDB. If not, we'll have to push it off till June.
I'm okay any day that week.
I am
I'm open. Any
not
day's fine.
available the week of the 26th,
Okay. So we went for the Thursday,
22nd.
the 29th. Because we have to do it that week for the CDBG grant.
CDBG.
For the grant
Yeah.
publication.
Would you entertain pushing to June 5th, or is that too late? That's a Thursday. Or,
But then we'd have,
Then we turn
Okay.
right around and have another one.
I can't do
3
the
days
fifth.
later.
yeah.
I think you guys, you can move it up, we would just delay our public hearing until June.
what's the downside of that?
In getting in line.
Yeah.
It's an open grant,
Yeah,
started
it's a
May
rolling
1st.
grant.
We
So
want to get that done as
Thursday,
quick as
are you-
possible.
Is Thursday the 29th okay?
That's fine with me.
Yeah, that works for the CDBG grant.
Okay.
The
Works for
29th?
me.
How about you?
The 29th?
Uh-huh.
I'm good.
I'm good with
I'm
that.
good.
I'll make it good.
Yep.
Last item, Paul, out-of-state tax.
Yeah, speaking of law enforcement priorities, I'm going to read part of this because it's somewhat involved. And but anyway, I want to let you all know, Ben asked me to bring you up to date on where we stand on creating the ordinance that prohibits the operation of vehicles that have illegal out-of-state tags. It is, like a lot of things, more than meets the eye. The city operates under the standard traffic ordinance, also known as the STO, which is a publication that has a comprehensive traffic code prepared by the League of Kansas Municipalities. That STO, which our officers use regularly in their law enforcement activities on traffic matters, includes a section relating to illegal tags. That section of our STO, it's section 198, mirrors the state law that has to do with illegal tags. That's, in case you care, KSA 8-142. But the STO does not make reference to and does not incorporate that portion of the state law dealing with out-of-state tags as an offense. I believe that's because the STO primarily deals with the operation of motor vehicles. So the state law upon which the STO relating to vehicle tags is based says as follows: it is unlawful for the owner of a motor vehicle to file application for the registration thereof in any county other than the county in which the owner of the motor vehicle resides or has a bona fide place of business which is not an office or facility established or maintained solely for the purpose of obtaining registration. So it's not the operation of the vehicle that is the problem, it is the registration, the illegal registration of the vehicle that is the problem and triggers the violation. So I wanted to make the commission aware that if we proceed with adopting an ordinance, it's probably going to have pretty limited application in terms of operating a motor vehicle because it would apply to the actual operation of the vehicle. It wouldn't apply to a vehicle that is, say, parked in a driveway or parked in a garage. And a concern that's been expressed to me is that the police department may receive complaints about out-of-state tags, but the ordinance really wouldn't deal with that particular situation. The law prohibits a person from registering a vehicle in any county other than the county in which the owner of the vehicle resides or has a bona fide place of business. Presents some challenges in and of itself just based on the definition of residency. There's a separate state law, it's KSA 8-1138, that talks about residency. There's a rebuttable presumption that a person is a resident of the county if the person, other than a student, owns, leases, or rents a place of domicile within the county and remains in such county for a period exceeding 90 days, except for infrequent or brief absences. It defines a resident as a person who enrolls the person's child in a school district unless out-of-state tuition is being charged for the attendance of the child at the school or in the school district. It defines a resident as a person who has a domicile in the county and has accepted employment or engages in any trade, profession, or occupation within the state, or maintains a main or branch office or warehouse facility within the county and operates motor vehicles in the county if such motor vehicles are garaged in the county for a period exceeding 90 days. And finally, a person who operates motor vehicles in intrastate haulage in the state if such motor vehicles are garaged in such county for a period exceeding 90 days. So there's a lot of exceptions, and that would be difficult for an officer who pulls over a vehicle with an out-of-state tag to have any of that information, of course. So resources are a consideration, and as you all know, the county attorney's office has chosen not to really enforce this particular law. I think from a resource standpoint and from Marty's comment about just law enforcement priorities, I do know that the county attorney's office is, has staffing issues. Finding lawyers to practice in rural America is difficult. So that's one of the issues that are, I think the county attorney's office is facing. I do know that tickets are written on occasion by state troopers, and they're cited into court, and I think those are situations where the trooper is aware that the person resides in Montgomery County and has an out-of-state plate. And sometimes, cases like that are pretty obvious. And if we proceed with an ordinance that makes it illegal to operate a vehicle with an out-of-state tag and can prove that the person meets the definition of a resident and doesn't fall into one of those many exceptions, we could follow suit. But we wanted to bring that to your attention, solicit your input as to whether a majority of you want us to continue down this road or to defer prosecution to the county attorney's office, whether or not the county attorney ever acts on the statute. I mean, things could change. As I told you at one of the previous meetings, I know that when we had one of the predecessors in the county attorney's office did wholesale, I guess, prosecution of people who had turned in. I mean, I think they compiled a list of offenders, and I recall that letters were sent to the offenders, and I think that resulted in more compliance. In my view, this is really more of a maybe concern at a higher level, because it's, in my view, more of a tax evasion issue than a motor vehicle operation issue. But those are the issues. I know just in conversation with the city manager and the chief of police, the chief was going to maybe reach out to other communities to see how they might be addressing this issue. I don't know that there's that many cities in Kansas that are similar to us, border town. I looked at other cities. Arc City was one that I found an ordinance that I was not impressed with, quite frankly. So there we are. That's the status right now. Looking for some feedback from you as to whether you want us to, again.
Just out of curiosity, Quinn, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but perhaps you could also venture a guess. In the course of a patrolman pulling somebody over that has Oklahoma tags, do those people typically have Oklahoma driver's licenses also?
Yeah, so there will be some things that will be obvious to the officer. They may actually know the individual. I mean, it is a small town. The driver's license, maybe a Kansas driver's license, registered address in Coffeyville. their insurance. We have come across Oklahoma license plates that have a Coffeyville address on them. Not all the time, but the state of Oklahoma doesn't care where you live. They want your money.
Sure.
But then there goes into some of the other items that Mr. Kreitz brought up. And of course, the question that I still have is that, our judge, will he want more beyond the prima facie evidence that the officers will accumulate at the time of the traffic stop for conviction?
So what's your recommendation about a course of action for right now?
Pardon me?
What would you recommend that we do at this point?
I'm going to reach out to some border towns and see what they are doing. I'm going to lean on a lot of them are probably going through their county attorney's office for, similar to what we had before with Mr. Markle when he was here. And he had quite a bit of success with that. But at the same time, I know that our current county attorney is very, very busy with a high criminal docket. And as Larry Markle had explained to myself and another citizen that I took up there with me so that he could hear it directly from Mr. Markle, those are, kind of like a triage. They get to him when they can. And there were a lot of cases that were being pushed aside because of homicides, rapes, offenses, burglaries, etc.
Well, those are certainly more important uses of law enforcement time and time of the judicial branch, but I guess maybe the best thing we can do is just wait and give the city attorney and the police chief time to talk to people in communities that are in similar situations, and maybe you guys could each make a recommendation about a course of action if there's any action that we could take.
That was our recommendation.
Because ultimately, you're the one that has to enforce it if we do
Well,
something.
and ultimately, our judge is the one, and Mr. Kreitz
Yeah.
will be the ones prosecuting it and finding in judgment of it. And so that's our end goal, is not just to make the traffic stop, but actually correct the deficiency that's going on
Well,
that we're all aware of.
something. Paul said letters were sent and then compliance happened. Cause like, hey, you've been caught, we know. And then they change, and then there's nothing to do after that. Yeah, I was thinking town, what does Liberal do? Liberal Kansas. I assume they'd be in a similar boat.
And Commissioners, I was being naive and suggesting when I was talking to both our chief and attorney here that, let's just keep this simple. Let's just, if they are violating something else, to your point, you get there, they hand you registration, you see it. But the way these laws are put in, you can't just stop and you can't just do it for that. You have to now carry it on. It now turns into investigation. You now are calling neighbors, asking about things. You turn this into a small community where there's going to be a lot of bickering and hate at each other. If you do that and then someone does call in to complain and now it's not, it really does mushroom. And the timing of this was not meant to be anything, but Facebook had already been talking about this for a week or so.
Yeah.
And I think the last time I looked was just probably a week ago. You had 100 comments and a lot of back and forth on that. So that's partly what you're going to create. Right or wrong on what you feel the decision is, you will create that environment.
And maybe the course of action is that we just need to lean on our local representatives in the state legislature to let the people they work with up there and realize that there's a ton of revenue that the state is not receiving. I drove up and down, what street do you live on, Edgewood? Edgewood yesterday, and Oklahoma tag after Oklahoma tag after Oklahoma tag, and these are people that are not obviously living in Oklahoma.
Are they the new houses? It's the new houses or the others?
And a couple of them already had Oklahoma tags and they moved there, but one of them had a Virginia tag, now it's Oklahoma. One of them had a Florida tag, now it's Oklahoma. It's like they physically moved farther north and west, but for taxation purposes, they just didn't quite get all the way to Kansas, you know what I mean? And as a person that's always, I mean, the only time I've ever had an Oklahoma tag is when I actually lived in Broken Arrow. But I remember back to my college days, if when I went to school in Texas, I tried to, claim in-state tuition, holy cow. I mean, I had the Texas Rangers up my backside and the county sheriff down my throat. I mean, apparently, in Texas they take things a little more seriously, but, I understand where you're coming from. This also falls, it's kind of like parking in the yard tickets. Do you want your police officers out looking for people parking in the yard, or do you want them running down people that are trying to sell meth off their bicycle at 12 o'clock in the morning? And, so if we're just going to run into a bottleneck with the city judge, then all of this is just,
Kind of a waste
Well,
of
it
time.
goes,
a wasted effort.
it kind of goes what Paul said, and you said, it's not really a moving traffic or a traffic violation, it's tax evasion.
Well, it
That's
is,
what
and
it really is.
what really irritates me is when people get in these elected positions, school board or city commission or college board, and they're running Oklahoma tags. To be on those local boards, you have to be a citizen, and you're running an Oklahoma tag. I mean, to me, that should be a slam dunk situation right there. But if somebody's registered to vote in Coffeyville and they're running Oklahoma tags, to me, that's a red flag. If they're here more than 90 days of the year, sleeping in a house that's in their name, so I'm one of those people, I follow the law, and I get a little put out when I see people getting away with not paying the same high taxes I have to, just because I choose to be honest, and they,
Well, it is a state statute. It's unlawful to do that.
Now, with the decrease in mill, that will affect those costs. We're 2 or 3 years behind for those to come in, but you're going to see that money go down more anyways.
Yeah. So we'll just wait to hear back from you two gentlemen about what you find, and then we can make a decision from there. Does that seem fair?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Commissioners.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, any comments from commissioners or staff?
I have a couple of items. First of all, we see that the chain link up at the tennis court's down now, and it looks like work has started in earnest, so that's good to see. Next item, I don't know how extensive this is, but it's been reported that kids have been seen racing golf carts out in the Edgewood area. I don't know if that's an isolated incident or if it's happened more than once, but people have seen kids running golf carts in the streets. So, Quinn, that might be something to take a look at. Next, I'd like to address the resurfacing of the parking lot that's east of Carter's and north of the Salvation Army. From October to December, there are literally hundreds of needy families who are in and out of that building, Salvation Army, making application for Christmas gifts for the children and picking up gifts. And that parking lot needs really, I know we've said hands off, but that really needs to be available for those folks from October to December.
Enter perfect storm. Commissioners, we said we've got to go and clean up, we've got to follow our ordinances, and let's start on Walnut. And we did. And some of the first thing those folks said is, what about your lot on Walnut? And so that's when we went out and said, hey folks, yeah, we've got a problem here, we need to not park here. Now, we are actively getting quotes, and by the way, I think last I heard, it's up in the 150,000 range for that particular lot, but we're doing it at the same time as the 2 parking lots for our parks that need to be done, and we have one other, so we're hopeful that we can limit some of those costs on a bunch of lots. So it is actively being worked on to go get that paved, so it's an actual parking lot, not a gravel lot.
Okay, and my last item, who is animal control at this point?
There is not
He's
animal
right back
control
there.
at this point.
Right back there.
Okay,
man
we're
of
starting
the-
to see a lot of complaints on, again, Facebook about an excessive number of dogs running loose.
So
And,
I guess the first thing I'd say about that is, even with an animal control officer, our animal control officer was not bringing all of those dogs to our facility because it's overflowed. Where we're at in the process, however, and I've shared this with a few commissioners that have asked, I'll make sure to send you this as well, but I have a 5 or 6 point plan that we like to go implement to try to relieve this in other areas, and none of it includes picking up more animals because we don't have the space. But spay and neuter programs, community outreach programs. One of the things we've looked at is a catch, spay, neuter, release program. We are absolutely, and this is, by the way, the mayor and I were at an event last week. League of Kansas Municipalities came in to meet with mayors and city managers, and when they got done giving their report, guess what the first topic was everybody wanted to talk about? Dogs. So
All
this-
size cities, they're overrun.
yeah.
yeah. So yes, we have a serious problem. Where the police are stepping in is when there is an immediate health and safety need. I was just on the phone with someone today trying to sell a home, and they were saying, look, this dog in this person's yard is dangerous and vicious. And Paul and I went through what the code was to determine. Well, I sent code enforcement out there to look, and they sat there and petted the dog and scratched it, and it was
Let me guess,
friendly.
it was a pit bull.
No, it's a Rottweiler mix.
That was my second guess.
Yeah.
It
So,
looked mean.
Yeah.
He'll lick you to death.
Yes, we have an animal problem. We're trying to get an animal control officer in. Our animal control officer, we intended, and I inadvertently caused the problem because we tried to make things more efficient. We're going to bring animal control over into code enforcement. Now we have 3 or 4 people out on the streets paying attention to this. But by doing that, we had to get some permissions through union contracts, and we're still working on finalizing that. I just spoke to one of our union reps this evening saying, hey, we need to get that vote going so we can get someone hired. But we're trying to change that position from one union to another.
We make Paul a 1099 contract.
Well, we could, but he still wouldn't go pick up those animals that everybody's frustrated about. I can give a solution. Like, we could get this cleaned up, but I know that is not a solution that most people want to hear. But sometimes maybe when the problem is big enough, people start going back to those solutions. But we have a problem where there's not some owner responsibility here, and now everyone is suffering from that.
One more thing on your to-do list. Thank you. That's all I have.
Just a quick question. The ATV tags that we have issued, when do they expire?
Is that a year long?
Yeah.
1 year. You ready to get rid of them already?
On January 1, we'll issue, they'll come back in and pay for you may come up there so people can hear me.
No, you're fine. We've run you to
January
death
1,
already.
Everybody that currently has an ATV tag will come to the police department, we'll verify the registration, and then we'll sell them a 26 decal that they'll put on that plate.
Okay.
But our first year, we decided not to spend any money on 25.
Tag itself does enough for that situation.
We have so far registered 50, 55 UTVs and ATVs so far.
Very good. And just wanted to note, I wanted to thank Ashley Tapman for the the little video she did about not the aquatic center. That one was good too, but the fountain at Feaster Park, that was viewed by almost 9,000 people. And I think maybe you being from out of town, maybe you were a little surprised at how, I know I've harped about this fountain for years, and this is why. It seems like a silly little fountain to somebody that's not from here, but there are a lot of people in this town that have an emotional attachment to that thing that I was even surprised by. When I saw how many people had watched that video, I was a little bit astounded, but
yes, I'm from out of town, and the only thing silly seemed like, why didn't we repair it? Because it was pretty easy to do.
Yeah, well.
And we thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks for doing that.
You've made a lot of people happy.
Well, it's not fixed yet, folks. We're getting there.
It's getting.
It looks nice.
It's on the
I
way.
don't have plans to plant flowers yet, but well, yes.
What's there does look nice. We are going to have to do something about the bathhouse, which is the limestone structure across the street from that fountain. And I certainly am not wanting a in-depth discussion tonight. I just want to put it on your radar.
We've got grants out that we're looking at to try to
Okay.
go in and do the same restoration there.
Good. I would hope that is the path that we can go down, because I'll vote to raise electric rates before I will vote to tear that building down, because I would expect to get run out on a rail by anybody over about 70 years old.
Pretty much.
If we get,
So when I was doing research this weekend on history of the
Yeah.
park and found a lot of things, so those are the WPP projects.
WPA.
WPA. There was also a WPA project that gave writers jobs to do too. And so I found a history item from 60 years ago. Of course, it talked about things that have burned down and don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That was a WPA history about Coffeyville too. So a lot of WPA things in this town that you can see. We even had some WPA things over at Walter Johnson that was, Forest Park before, that do not exist there, but there's some foundations left.
so I just wanted to put that on the map and thank Ashley for that video. And I we talk about what level of service we want to provide to our citizens, and it's good that we're communicating with them the things that the city's doing and the projects that we're working on. And I've just heard a lot of positive feedback about that particular video. The rest of this stuff I'll just discuss with you at some point later in the week. I don't need to drag the meeting on any longer than I already have. Thank you.
I just want to thank you for putting in the code enforcement nuisance packet. I just want to bring out there were 11 properties on here, and I'm gathering we're going to get these every month, and this is an ongoing or whatever, 2 weeks. And after contact, 4 were cleaned up by the owner. 1 was moved to the next cleanup packet. 6 of them are citizens, tax-paying people, had to pay to have them cleaned up, and they're not even their properties. And that amounted to $2,220. So, if you just keep your stuff picked up and
Yeah.
not collect outside, so that we don't have to spend the taxpayer money to go clean up these
That's a small
places.
amount. It's budgeted
I know it is.
$100,000 plus every year.
Those pictures, and if anybody, these were in our commission packet that was put online. So you can go there and see what people are having, what we are having to clean up, the citizens are having to clean up. And one other thing, how is the new trash company working out? Pretty good?
Yeah, it's
And
been-
the bulky pickup
Yep.
is getting,
Bulk-
people
bulk
are
pickup
getting
is
used
getting
to
better,
that?
and code enforcement is giving some grace on that, with
Okay.
everyone having to get used to calling
Sure.
in or emailing in the pickup. But yeah, we're what, month and a week in, and yeah, phone calls are very rare anymore. We've got everyone pretty much set up that if they need the outdoor service, and very few missed pickups. bulk, still getting used to
Sure.
the calling, but overall, yeah, it's been good.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. And I just want to ask our citizens one thing. It's a very simple thing to do, but we even have on our website, and that please take your poly cart back up to your home within 24 hours of pickup. Everybody wants, we all want our town to look good, and you would be surprised when you go down the street and you see a block of blue here, a block of blue there, and then so forth, and we're finished with trash day. So, it doesn't take much just to roll that cart up. And if you can't do it, the yellow carts, you can, with the yellow lids, they can call and have those if you just can't do it. But it does make a big difference. And we all want our town to look attractive as much as we can. And that's one thing that we all as citizens can do.
Very simple.
It's very simple to do. So,
I'm sorry, I did have one more thing. I didn't give a sales tax report last month. Our sales tax for January was up over 25%. Now, obviously, we all know that that's because of the turnaround that was going on at the refinery. But it's still, our sales tax receipts are up for the year to date, way up, and they're on a record pace. So even
And we'll
though
have one more turnaround this year too. It'll be a smaller one, but in the fall, they're expected 500 to 600 contractors.
the February numbers, and we get the information 3 months later, but the February numbers, we were up almost 14%. So our sales tax is not just strong, it's on a record-breaking pace. And that's sales tax and the compensating use tax also. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks very good. So, you good? You have something?
Yeah. You probably saw it posted on the city's Coffeyville Parks and Places Facebook posting website. They have June 7th, Lisa Bookover in the Aviation Museum and City Coffeyville sponsoring, aka Mr. Powers, be out there, and they're sponsoring a car show and a aviation fly-in at the airport. June 7th breakfast starts at 8 o'clock, and then they'll do pulled pork lunch at 11 a.m. and just wanting to encourage everybody to come out and spread the word about it. That's all I had.
Anybody else? All right. Do I make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
The motion is made by Mayor Maples, seconded by Vice Mayor Van Oster to adjourn. Can I see a show of hands? Thank you.